Hey there, today I'm showing you how to paint these two landscapes with watercolors. So, as always with landscape paintings, I'm starting off with a border of washi tape so that we can have a clean edge at the end. And then I started off with the first layer on the right side and then moved on to the left side. I started off with very light colors and worked my way into darker tones. And here on the left side, you can see that I started painting this sunset, which is in the background. And that's the reason why I started with the sky, with the clouds, because it's very far in the distance. And it's often a good idea to start with the things that are far back and work your way towards the things that are in front. It's not always the case, but generally, that's a good idea to do with watercolors and also work your way from lighter tones to darker tones. So then I started with the water in the more of the foreground, and I used a mixture of pink and orange and purple tones. And then on the right picture, I started with the mountains and with the trees on there. And then I used my brush to blend that into the drier part of the paper. And don't worry if you don't get this perfectly straight away, because I did a lot of layers here so that it would look cool. And I kind of wish that I had let it be that way that it looked at first, because it looked really cool like clouds, but I added in a bit more layers. And then you can see the foreground layer is the darkest one, and I added a bit more details here with the trees. I think that this landscape is actually quite simple, so if you're more of a beginner, I think that one is really cool to do. And you'll also learn how to use the correct amount of water with your brush, because you learn how to blend everything into each other. And then with a white gel pen, I added in the moon and some stars in the sky. And I think that this always adds a little bit of a magical touch. And yeah, then I moved on to the left painting again, and I did the mountains in the background. And I used a purple tone for this one, and just used a very light purple and then made it darker and darker. Yeah, you can see it here that I added in a bit more shadows. And then I started kind of blending it into the water by adding more of those horizontal lines. And yeah, just try to add in the shadows and the lights. I think that it doesn't really matter too much whether you get this perfectly, because it's just so dark, and in the shadows I think it doesn't really matter too much. And here you can see me do the water, and water is just basically doing those horizontal lines over and over again. If you want to learn that better, I have a Skillshare course about watercolor landscapes. It's all about watercolor landscapes. You'll learn a whole lot about it. I will link it down in the description box so you can check it out if you haven't watched it yet. I really recommend this for beginners. If maybe such tutorials are a bit too hard for you or too fast and not detailed enough, I really recommend watching Skillshare courses, and I will link mine in the description down below in case you want to check it out. And then after blending everything together a little bit more, I did the trees in the foreground, which are just a very dark color. I think I actually used black. A lot of people don't use black with watercolors, but I really don't care. I just use black all the time. And I don't think that it looks bad or muddy or anything. I really enjoy using it. And added in this little tree there and made everything darker and added in more shadows. Like I said, always working from lighter tones to darker tones, just because it's very hard to go back with watercolors, and it's always a good idea if you start off with the lighter tones and slowly work your way towards the darker tones. I added in some stars here as well. I really recommend getting a white gel pen or something like that, because you can always add those cool little details, and it can really make a painting look way cooler if you do that. So I really recommend getting one of these. The jelly roll pens are really cool. I think I've linked it with my favorite art supplies, just if you want to check it out, or a white Posca pen or something like that. And then you can add sparkles and stars and highlights and everything, but don't overdo it because it can look really bad really fast. So then I removed the washi tape, which is always the most fun part if you ask me. I will link my Skillshare course in the description down below, and I really hope that you liked this video, and if you did so, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!